Hello world, I'm Carp. Welcome back to 80 Days, where at this moment we are traveling from Yokohama to Honolulu, and the engineer of our experimental craft has been murdered, and it kind of feels like someone's trying to frame us here. Let's see what's happening over here. The next day, the investigation, such as it was, began in earnest. The captain demanded to talk to everyone, but of course everyone had an alibi. The manner of death was quite obvious and had been confirmed. Surely it would have been a noisy affair, General Peters remarked. Did anyone hear anything? No one had. Indeed, if the ship had not begun listening without its artificial guiding hand, we might not have discovered poor Madame Chou for several hours more. The time of death was declared by Monsieur Jaffer as being 2 or 3 hours before the body was discovered, based on his experience and the temperature of the corpse. But I am no doctor, he added. So your assessment is approximate, I asked. It is, but a few hours at least must have passed between Madame Chou's death and Mademoiselle Carlotta's discovery of her. The flesh passepartout was quite chilled. There was no doubt the culprit was still aboard, but there was no clue to suggest who it might be. But the weapon that belonged to us had been spirited out of our own locked cabin. That, Captain huffed, is the only piece of true evidence we had, Passepartout. Where were you and your master at the time of the crime? I told the truth. I was taking a turn on the deck alone. My master, I believe, was in the drawing room. Also alone, Monsieur Fogg put in helpfully. The captain nodded. It does not look good, gentlemen. Monsieur Fogg is a gentleman, I protested. That I do not doubt, the captain replied. But this is a murder and cannot be overlooked. Of course, our course is simple, Monsieur Fogg said directly. We are in the ocean. There is nowhere for us to run, therefore no need to imprison us. Here is our offer. Let us discover the true culprit by the time we reach port, or you may arrest us for the crime. I rubbed my hands. A chance to save ourselves. The captain nodded. Very well. You have until we dock. Once he was gone, Monsieur Fogg turned to me. Passepartout, our situation is desperate. You must uncover the truth. What will you do? I demanded. I will consider the matter, Monsieur Fogg replied. There were only a few days remaining. I drew up my list of suspects and attempted to do some detecting. There was no time to lose, and our relations with Fogg have strengthened slightly. Okay, let's converse. Greetings, Mademoiselle Carlotta. How goes your investigation? Let's talk about Honolulu. They say King Kamehameha III is a devout Christian. Can we get from Honolulu to Port Moresby? You don't think so? What about to San Pedro? Have you heard that you can pick up buffalo hides in San Pedro? Extremely valuable in Burlington. Goodbye. Okay, didn't get any good news from there. Maybe we should try to ask for more routes out from Acapulco, was it? I began my investigations asking questions of Mademoiselle Carlotta. Mademoiselle, you must help me, I began. Mademoiselle Carlotta nodded, though I could see fear in her eyes, and she had demanded to talk out on the open deck in view of the bridge. Whatever I can do, she said. You found the body. What were you doing in the engine room? What do you think? She exclaimed with perfect surprise. The boat was about to capsize. It was tipping right over. I hurried down the boiler room to see what was going on and if I could help. Did you ride the boat? I did, as it happened, she said. There's a valve which was stuck. I opened and the boat settled once more. So you know how the boat works? No, she exclaimed. Only the artificer knew that. I just know about one simple valve, that is all. Did you know Madame Chou? Mademoiselle Carlotta shook her head. I'd heard of her reputation, of course. That's why I agreed to board the ship, but I'd never met her until we launched. She nodded. She folded her arms suddenly. But what about you? Where were you when it happened? I have no motive, Mademoiselle, I told her stiffly. But you seem determined to find someone to blame. Goodness, Passepartout, does the captain seriously think you did it? Me or my master, it doesn't matter which. She looked at me with sympathetic eyes. It is a terrible thing to be accused of that which you did not do. Tell me about yourself. What brings you aboard? She shrugged. I made my money in gold on the west coast of America, she said. Now I own a small shipping line, but it is a hobby, really. And what brings you to this boat? Research, she replied with a sigh. I was going to make an offer to buy her whole fleet, but I don't think that the offer would be worth very much now. Have you lost a lot of money? No, she replied, though I have not earned any either. Tell me of Madame Chou's reputation. She is one of a kind, Carlotta replied. A new Savacar. This hover ship is her own creation, and there is nothing else like it anywhere. It will revolutionize international trade if it is successful. Where were you when the crime occurred? I was in my cabin. I have an alibi for that, you'll be pleased to hear. The ship's butler brought me my gin and tonic about an hour before dinner, right about when Jaffer said it happened. I thanked her for her time. Had I learned anything? I could not be sure. No, not really. Let's deal with fog here. I spent the next day... Let's spend it at the scene. Several feet had trampled through it by now, of course, and there had been ample chance for the murderer to come in and remove anything incriminating the man had left behind. Even the dust had drifted away through the open porthole. But perhaps there was something small they had not considered. I hunted in the dust along the edge of the machine, every nook and cranny, but I found nothing. Suddenly the boat lifted and the machine made a squealing noise, though not as loud as the one the other day. A valve opened and a blast of cold air shot out across the floor of the boat. Then the flap closed, the boat tilted back upright, and the cold air spread away. Presumably it was some regular function of the boat that helped to keep it upright. The exact workings were artifice beyond my skills, of course. With that I left the engine room. That night I remembered to adjust the pocket watch as we had crossed the international date line and gained ourselves a day! Yay! Let's deal with fog. Make sure that he doesn't end up in very low health before we get out of here. A few days down and I felt I had learned very little, or if I had learned a lot, I was too confused to see it. To try and clear my head, I spent a few hours talking to Monsieur Jaffer. Monsieur, you must help me! Jaffer smiled thinly. I am retired, Passepartout, and not entirely through choice. But you are the most qualified person aboard, he shrugged. Perhaps. All I can tell you is to consider the circumstances closely, and remember, most people are not particularly good at lying. Tell me, Monsieur, where were you at the time of the crime? He nodded with a smile. A good question, and one you should be asking me and everyone else. I was in my cabin, attending to my person. When the body was found, as you know, I was in the dining room with you. I left Jaffa at the rail, contemplating the rushing water below. This doesn't look good. Let's deal with fog here. I had barely any time left. Hawaii was fast approaching. I used what I had in conversation with the captain. Have you found out anything yet, Passepartout? He inquired. I shrugged. I have a few ideas, I told him. I'm glad, he answered. For my money, I don't trust General Peters. He's altogether too square-jawed about the whole affair for my liking. Tell me about Madame Chu. He sighed with deep sadness. She was a remarkable artificer. This is a remarkable boat, her great legacy. I couldn't be more proud to be her captain. Apparently Mademoiselle Carlotta was going to try and buy the fleet. Was she now? The captain replied with some interest. I did not know that. She wouldn't have succeeded, however. Madame Chu and I are old friends, and we had an agreement. Do you have a key to our cabin? I asked, considering the matter of how the weapon found its way to out of our luggage. He nodded. I do. I have a key to every cabin aboard, as does the butler and the first mate, but their loyalty is without question, to the ship and to its artificer. They are above suspicion. Is anyone above suspicion? I demanded. Of course, the captain replied. Where were you at the time of the crime? When the body was discovered, I was on the bridge with my crew. A few hours before, when Jaffa says it happened, I was off my shift. I was asleep. Alone? He bristled, but understood the question. Yes, Passepartout, alone. I thanked the captain for his time. Good luck to you, Passepartout, he said. I fear you may need it. Well, that's not an alibi. They said that everyone besides us had an alibi. Morning came and the shores of Hawaii were in sight. The captain approached, regret on his face, his cap in his hand. Well, Passepartout, Monsieur Fogg, what is it to be? I believe I have a theory, I replied nervously. The captain nodded briskly. I'm glad to hear it. We will gather everyone together and you can discuss what you have discovered. Oh, crap. Very well. He nodded. Come at once. Monsieur Fogg touched my elbow as we followed the captain in the drawing room, as the others were called. Passepartout, please be cautious. We are still under suspicion. Do not attempt to bluster or they will think you are guilty. Yes, monsieur. He nodded and we stepped into the room. Mademoiselle Carlotta was visibly fretting, looking about with clear fear of someone. Monsieur Jaffer leaned by the window, his eyes clouded. General Peters looked frankly cross, presumably because of the delay to his journey. I cleared my throat and began to speak. Ladies and gentlemen, I have brought you together because I believe I know who killed our artificer. Well, you're better than me then, Passepartout. I have no idea. Of course you know, General Peters said. You did it. The weapon was yours. You know alibi and your damned Frenchie to boot. I held up a hand for silence. To kill this whole affair, I began noticing, was the lack of a scream. I saw people sitting up sharply. We all saw the unpleasant manner of Madame Chu's death, but none of us heard it. I began to wonder, how could that be? It was no doubt, sadly, rather brief, General Peters said. This is not the important point, I replied. The killer covered her mouth, Monsieur Fogg said. I shook my head. It's simpler than that, he said. We did hear her scream because there was another louder noise that covered it. General Peter shut up sharply. The whistling, he declared, from the engine. Every now and then it makes a sharp squeal like a dying pig. The captain turned to him with a frown. It's true that when the boat rights itself it makes a squeal, but only for a moment, not enough to cover a scream, not enough time for someone to be attacked. What if the boat listed further? True, the captain mused, and would need to do more upright itself, and it did list very far, the captain said, but later it tilted when we found her, not when she was killed. I followed the fact sink in. The next detail is the business arrangements of Madame Shu. I saw the captain and Mademoiselle Carlotta exchange sharp looks. As you know, the artificer was the inventor of this ship. You may not know she was considering going into business with the good captain as well as Mademoiselle Carlotta. The captain shook his head. She was going into business with me and me alone. I tried to persuade her, the Mademoiselle Carlotta admitted. I tried to befriend her. I would have succeeded in the end, but now, she shrugged, now there is nothing to buy. And nothing to threaten your business, I suggested. She shrugged. This would have been my business, but I have money. There will be another business. Monsieur Jaffa frowned suddenly and looked up. But Mademoiselle, he said, you already own a shipping route, don't you? I own several, she snapped in return. I looked around. Let us consider the time of death. I saw Jaffa frown sharply. At the time told us by Monsieur Jaffa, no one has an alibi for their whereabouts except for Mademoiselle Carlotta, who was in her cabin receiving a gin and tonic from the butler. Any of us could have been in the boiler room bringing Madame Shu to grief. Indeed, Jaffa replied. What of it? How sure are you of that time? Jaffa nodded. I thought sure. She was quite cold. What if she was cold for another reason? Like what? General Peters put in. A cold blast of air. He shrugged. It would have to be a very long, very cold blast, he said. Wind through an open porthole wouldn't do it. I held up a finger for silence. Monsieur Jaffa, if such a thing were possible. The old detective shrugged. Then I would not know for certain. A coroner would have said more from the blood, but I could not. If the temperature were not a factor, she could have died any time. I nodded satisfied. Then this is what we have discovered. The watching faces were silent with expectation. I believe I see, Monsieur Fogg injected suddenly, a hint of smile on his lips. You are suggesting the murder did not occur when Monsieur Jaffa believed, but later. A blast of wind cooled her down. Is that your theory? I told them about the steam valve in the engine room, and how when squealed open it had pumped cold air across the floor. With enough gas released, I believe it might be able to cool a body sharply, while also, my master remarked thoughtfully, making a loud enough noise to muffle a scream. The crime was committed by someone who understood the engine, I agreed. Someone capable of locking the valve to build up the cool air and pressure inside, in order to release it with a loud enough noise that they could commit their heinous act in secret on this tiny boat. And they planned to cool the body and confuse us about the time, Monsieur Jaffa cried. This is most cunning. They are a most cunning agent, I agreed, with no small knowledge of the workings of the ship. I wheeled around. Are you not? Oh crap, who are we gonna blame here? I feel it's gotta be Mademoiselle Carlotta. Or Captain. It's either the Captain or the Mademoiselle. I'm gonna say Mademoiselle. The effect was immediate. Carlotta was up on her feet. Just because you saw me outside the engine room doesn't mean to say, did you not tell me yourself you right the ship by opening the valve? I replied. But the ship righted itself several minutes before we met. This whole chain of argument was going somewhat to my head. I waved a maniacal finger in the air and pointed sharply. The whole event was prepared and executed by you. Meeting me in the corridor was sheer bad luck. There was a pause. And then the Mademoiselle made a bolt for the door, but General Peters was on her like a flash. I always knew it would be a foreigner, he said to her. I suppose that is what you Americans want to be, eh? We docked at Honolulu and Carlotta was taken away by the local authorities. Woohoo! Also got an achievement there for solving that, so that was nice. Will they hang her? I asked the captain, who tightened his jaw. God help me, but I hope so, he muttered. There was no one on this earth like Shu. No one. I nodded and left him to his thoughts, grateful for our liberty, but then he called me back. Passepartout, I'm glad I trusted you. You have proved most astute. I will talk to my friends who run trading ships. I'm quite sure they will take you wherever you want to go without charge. At that, my master actually deigned to let the smile tugging at the corners of his lip bloom fully across his features. I very nearly fell off the gangplank in astonishment. Okay, so will take me anywhere I want to go without... There seems to be no departures today, are you sure? Okay, Acapulco departs in 2 days. Okay, let's just explore today then. Or can we use the bank? Oh, opens on Sunday. Well, let's explore first. And we find a route. Where does this route go? It goes to San Francisco. And another one that goes to Panama City. It was as though Honolulu lived in one indrawn breath, a wheeling swath of sky, wide-laced waves and pristine sand bounded by black volcanic bluffs. The town was entirely hidden behind the groves of coconut and eucalyptus. We took a short tour. You look, said our coach driver Hila Hila. Hila Hila. Interesting name. Like city folk. I was born in Paris, I nodded. My first breath was for smoke and perfume. So you are, like the great and sleepless city of Paris, always in a rush. He murmured something to his horse, which looked well-fed and high-spirited. As a young man, I went to San Francisco to make my fortune. I too ran and scrabbled in pursuit of the almighty dollar. We are not pursuing wealth, monsieur, I corrected, though indeed Monsieur Fogg's fortune hung in the balance of his wager. Was our entire adventure merely a glorified pursuit of coin? Our adventure thus far had been somewhat harum-scarum. Barely had we placed our toes on dry land that we were looking to depart. Oh, I had seen so many wonders, and yet each had been ultimately reduced to another mark in my master's ledger. Do you not wish the freedom to exhale, Passepartout? The coach driver asked. To stop running and simply feel the wind upon your face, and the sun warming you, and the sound of the ocean like a heartbeat. I will take my moments where I may, Hila Hila, I agreed. With my master, that is where I find peace. Ooh, we went straight back to 100. Oh, that was nice. Or if not peace, then surely it is purpose, and that is much the same. The coach driver sighed and turned his face up to the endless sky. A man may find himself here, he told me, but only if he wishes it. He invited us to his home that evening and fed us dough-like pois and bright fleshed slices of orange and guava. And I thought for once about peace and purpose, instead of the distance yet to travel. My own purpose remained undimmed, but Honolulu was a pause, a moment pulled free of past and future, and containing only the taste of guava and salt-freshened wind. We finished our day in Honolulu with a souvenir, a swirling conch shell collecting from the beach as we walked back to the docks. Right. Can we sell anything here? Ooh, there's a corner. So the mango sweet for 24, this one for 17, for 79. But we should be getting out of here free, so if we can get... Ooh, Smith & Wesson. Valuable in New York, New Orleans, and Panama City. The accordion is valuable here. Well, 204, yeah, that's too expensive. Oh, well, there was the cotton flower. Valuable in Panama City. So we could buy the Smith & Wesson, we could buy the cotton flower, and if we head to Panama, we'd probably get a good money from them. And Panama is over here, yeah. Huh. Negotiate. Huh. The monkey wrench from our engineers should change their minds. They're asking, yeah, for stuff we can't pay. Okay, so... Shall we go for Panama, like, 2 days? You know, I feel like we're at here in 40 days. We have 40 days left to go to London. And yeah, we can go to, like, we can Panama. We can probably still get to, like, New York, Ponte Delgada, and then to London or something like that. Or maybe even, like, from Panama to, like, Dakar and then up from Dakar. So yeah, let's buy the stuff that is good for good money in Panama. It's the Smith & Wesson. Let's buy this first and then the Smith & Wesson. Does it fit here? It does. Good. Right, so when was it leaving for Panama? 2 days. Yeah, and we cannot alter that. So, Honolulu, please go to Honolulu. I'm trying to go to Honolulu. There, thank you. We'll sleep for 1 day, pass the night here. The hotel was too expensive. We had no option but to curl up in a shady spot under a tree like wild dogs, angry and try our luck outside. To say we slept poorly is an understatement. I will not make it. I thought I was going to die. Well, crap. I mean, we could leave for San Francisco right now, but no, that's not what we're gonna do. We're gonna go to Panama City and get some money. It leaves tomorrow. I hope that we actually get it for free like it was promised earlier. So we're gonna have to sleep another day outside. Yeah, we'll pass the night here. It's gonna get a little bit worse yet. Once again, we can afford the hotel. We had no choice but to lie down under a bridge like the poorest peasant and try to sleep. Halfway through the night, we were accosted by a stray dog who curled up by our feet, seeking a little warmth. Okay, Now, Panama City, we can leave. So let's embark. Yep, let's go. Okay, yeah, it cost us nothing good. We boarded a sailing ship bound for Panama. Captain Luapo introduced himself briskly, leaning upon a hardwood cane. My ma was a nice Samoan fisherwoman, and my papa and I owned coal hauler in the harbor of Pago Pago. I inherited a broad back and his eyes for $1. The ship was a sturdy, unassuming hauler with an out-of-date engines and worn decks. Hardly a beauty, but sturdy and patched up with loving hands. Let's street fog. And if we get to converse with someone, we need to converse so that we can find a way out from Panama. During the day, I spent my time eavesdropping, hoping to find options for our next leg, and I picked up from a charming Irish girl that the paddle steamers on the Mississippi River are mostly death traps. I woke in the night with a start, certain someone was in my room. The black rose had returned once more. I sat up and turned on the light, but there was no one there. I was quite alone, shivering under my thin sheets, but I was more certain ever that the rose would return to haunt me soon enough. Monsieur Fogg and I shared a cabin, which was not so great an imposition. Indeed, we had lodged in many circumstances less congenial on our travels, and I slept soundly on our first night aboard. Okay, new routes discovered in America. Right, let's check. So we're heading for Panama, and from Panama we'll ride to go to like Caracas or Port-au-Prince or Port Royal or like Dakar or Freetown. Right, something's going on. Madame Costanza, Captain Luapo's wife, served up our fresh-caught lunch of sea fish, though she confessed that she had not cooked it herself. "Too pasty cook," she whispered. "I don't have his skill." I too am envious of cooks, I confessed in turn. It is practice which required patience, and I am not a patient person. She smiled softly, and I couldn't help but see the long jacket scar which pinched one side of her mouth upwards. I looked away from it, not wanting to give offense, but she ran a finger down its length as I watched. "You don't have to pretend you don't see it," Madame Costanza murmured. "It is hard to ignore." "My apologies, madame." I looked at my hand. "It is none of my business." "It wasn't my husband, if that's what you're thinking," she replied. "I was a threshing automaton operator, and my machine threw a gear." She sucked in a breath. "I was lucky to get away so lightly. I have friends who have lost entire arms and legs to such accidents." "Scars only add character," I said gently. She seized a knife from the table and held it to my cheek with sudden pain now. "Oh, really?" she breathed. "Then would you like me to give you a mark like mine?" I froze, and Captain Luapo appeared as if by magic and settled his arm about Madame Costanza's shoulders. "Please," he said in tones that betokened command rather than request, "refrain from upsetting my wife." Okay, now we're polished. Is it? Okay, converse. "Greetings, madame. Passepartout, you wonderful little man. Okay. What can you tell me of Panama?" "They say that Panama is under Haitian influences these days." Okay, so can we get from there to Freetown? "All I know is that the British Navy's anti-slave squadron is based in Freetown. Now, anyway, what do you think of my husband?" "Stalwart. A very stalwart, upstanding character. Those are not even his best qualities." Okay, so Panama City. Aren't all of these things like southward? Caracas maybe isn't. Is there a route from Caracas? Probably, but you can buy zoetropes in Caracas. Extremely valuable in Budapest. What about to Bogota? I don't know, but no market exists in Bogota. Let's use the perfumed oils. Thank you. And Panama City. Port Moresby. I don't think so. What about Pitcairn Island? No idea. But now they say several of the founders of Pitcairn vanished most mysterious. Okay, let's use English poetry. And still talk about Panama City. We'll ask about Route to Belém. She doesn't know that either. What about the Machu Picchu? And she doesn't know about that either. So we found absolutely no routes. Okay, something's happening. Having managed to offend Madame Costanza the previous day, I kept very silent when another passenger asked Captain Luapo how he had injured his leg. "I fought a Siberian bear," he said, with every appearance of sincerity. I looked around at the crew, who nudged each other and muttered amongst themselves. "I heard," said one of the navigators, "that you took a dagger to the knee in duel with beautiful pirate captain." Captain Luapo smiled. One of the engineers raised his mug. "No, I heard you were mauled by a shark off Oahu." "Don't be silly," injected a coal whore. "It was a Haitian ouvrier who used the captain's blood for a spell." I looked at the captain, who was resting in his chair, his cane at his side and a smile playing upon his lips. "Oh no," the captain's wife interjected in her soft tones. "I think he took his wound rescuing a princess held captive by an evil lord." Constanza, Captain Luapo chuckled. "You have it backwards. It was the princess that wounded me. He might have been struck in the heart, and the crew erupted in the good-natured laughter which carried on well into the night. Okay, so here we are at Panama, pretty much. Madame Constanza knocked on my door in the afternoon. "We are nearing Panama," she said, pulling shyly at the blonde braid. "You should gather your things." "I'm sorry for any offense I caused you." She looked rather wrong-footed by my declaration and then nodded once decisively. "Be wary of the Haitian automata in Panama," she whispered. I nodded once, still wary of her. I disembarked the ship with my master and greeted Panama City. Okay, so yeah, some of her possession will fetch a few pounds here. Oh yes, 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 yes! I bought these things just to sell them here. Yes, we'll sell this, we'll sell the Smith and Wesson. Ooh, the cigarette case. We'll sell, 2,000. You know, I still think that's good money here. Right. Okay, where are we headed? Let's see. Port au Prince, Port Royal. We don't even know where we're headed actually, so let's explore first, see if we can find any routes out of here. Oh, those aren't good looking routes. Panama City seemed a town perpetually on the edge of disaster. A great number of the inhabitants had immigrated to California during the gold rush 20 years ago. The 49ers, as they were called, had left empty spaces which were quickly filled by new immigrants, creating a multiracial polyglot society. I went exploring to see if I could find anything useful to our journey and stumbled upon the construction of the Panama Canal. Great quantities of stone and dirt were being thrown into the air, undercut by the whistle of steam escaping and the boilers rumbling. As I watched, a tall, sharp-eyed fellow in pinstripe suit glared at me. "You here to watch or work?" "I'm a visitor." "Are you now? Well," the man popped out his cheek. "I'm Jesner, the crew leader, and I don't allow any watching on my dig site." He pointed one of the steam shovels. "Get in." I complied, without a second thought. Perhaps it's the authority in Gessner's voice. Perhaps I was rather too enamored of the enormous power of the steam shovels. "Gessner Jr. will lead you right," he pronounced in finality, cursing the bucket of the great machine. "Did you create him, then?" I confessed myself impressed. "I designed all the steam shovels, but Fancon gave them life. She's headed back to Haiti tomorrow morning. I don't know what I'll do without her." He nodded towards a tall black woman who was checking the fuel barrels, occasionally dipping a finger in the tarry black substance and tasting it. "But enough talk, time to dig." I examined the levers closely before selecting the most worn handle and easing it forward. The winch squealed and began to rise the boom with a vibration I could feel in my bones. A grin spread on my face. I rather threw caution to the wind in my experiments. After a few unfortunate incidents of near burial and decapitation, I developed my own style of excavation. "Unconventional," Gessner remarked, looking at the magnificent pile of dirt and rock I had cleared, "but clearly you have skill." As I worked, I saw the woman called Fanchon move away from the site. If she was an artificer, perhaps she would be useful, but my shovel would not be stopped or slowed until I worked until the evening. Right, so we could head to Machu Picchu, or we could head to Acapulco. These are not ways I want to go. It seems that last time I went to Bogota from here somehow. Maybe we could find that route. It'd be really nice to go to port things there. Okay, so San Francisco, Houston doesn't sound like the way we're going. I don't know about that. That's a thing that would help us talk to people more, so sure, let's buy it. Hammer, Caracas, Ponte Delgada, and Houston, Freetown. Where's Freetown? I mean, we probably need to go to Lima then. Hope to find a way. There's only ways down from there, or at least we know only ways down. And feels like there's probably not going to be many routes to go this way. Like, here's the Andes are here. Is it the Andes? It's probably the Andes. But hey, anyways, I think we're actually going to end this episode here and ponder the way we get out of here next time. I'm on Carp, this has been 80 Days. Goodbye world, thanks for watching, see you next time.